Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Rich Hart Show. Hey, today with me, I have a very special dear friend, an individual itself that I've known for many, many years. His name is Ken Futch. And Ken, he has faced some very difficult situations in his life. He has had a mule step on his head. He has been attacked by a crazed sow. And he had his nose flattened by a fisherman's boat paddle while water skiing. I don't know how fishing and water skiing comes in. Well, I guess we'll talk about that. And actually shot himself in the head with his own gun, accidentally. And the best part of this is, I want to quote, it is all true. All right? He said he took the shot through his head just to open his mind. Folks, please help me welcome Mr. Ken Futch. Ken,
thank you.
Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Today,
to be with anywhere, really.
Without a doubt. Hey, Ken, we're going to be talking about how life experiences define one story as communication and in communication business professionals world, alrighty, and how these life experiences are so crucial to the success of our business today. So, Ken, you have a very special story.
Absolutely.
And so can you just give our audience just a little bit about your story? Tell us about what this whole idea of and this whole individual Ken Futch is.
Well, it was a Saturday afternoon. My wife and I had just moved into our new home here in Atlanta. And I was seated on the bed talking to her. And for no real reason, I reached over and picked up a little Saturday night special, which I kept on the nightstand for protection, in case some varmint were to break in my home. As I picked the pistol up, I picked it up at a barrel with it pointed directly towards my face. As I did, my wife said, "Are you sure the safety's on that gun?" And she said that. I turned to look towards her. And when I did, I heard the gun go off. Well, I didn't feel a thing. But since it was pointed directly towards my face, I thought I might be in some trouble. I'd heard of people catching their arms and saws and cutting them off and not even knowing it from shock. So I jumped up, ran to the mirror to look in, see what I'd done. And when I did, I saw this hole in my face right here, which tended to upset me. But when I saw another hole in my temple on the other side, I knew I was dead. So just stood there waiting to die, wondering if everyone felt that way right before we died. I'd always heard that your life flashes in front of you right before you die. Now, I was sort of looking forward to that because a couple of things I'd like to catch again. Well, the blood began to flow out of my nose, out of my mouth, like somebody had turned on a water faucet. I thought, well, if I don't die from the blast, surely I'm going to bleed to death. I knew I couldn't put a tourniquet around my neck. So I turned to my wife, I said, "Call an ambulance. I'm hurt bad." She was screaming, but she was able to call an ambulance. I sat down on the bed to pray. I knew I didn't have time for a long prayer, but I knew I needed to pray. I asked the Lord to be with me, but I was in a bind. Well, at this point, I jumped up and ran to the bathroom to look in another mirror, try to get things from a new perspective.
Oh, my gosh.
Things had not changed. My wife came in, gave me a towel, and wrapped it around my head. I could think, well, I just bought this new house. If I don't die, there's no need to ruin it. I may as well go out and bleed in the yard. So I ran down the stairs, sat down in the driveway. Then I remembered that I didn't have my Blue Cross Blue Shield card. So I ran back upstairs to get it, ran back down and sat back down in the driveway. Then I heard a siren. I thought it was an ambulance, but no, it was a deputy sheriff. I thought, oh my gracious, if I died, it might get my wife for murder. Or it might write me up for suicide. And my mother wouldn't like that. So I took the deputy upstairs, gave him the pistol, told him the story, ran back down and sat back down the driveway. Then I got to thinking, this run up and down the stairs bleeding like this probably isn't very wise. Well, finally the ambulance arrived and they put me inside and they started an IV in my hand. I felt a little better and at least had something flowing in as well as flowing out. The only thing I could think of was give it to the hospital, put me to sleep, go to work on me, fix me up, let me wake up in a room with flowers and candy and gas. Well, I get to the first hospital and back up to the platform, open doors. This man looked, oh, we can't handle him. He said, we don't have a neurosurgeon. So I guess we ought to take him in anyway. I thought, my God, they're going to argue about it. Finally, they rolled me aside and everybody came up to me, how'd you do it? Well, it's humiliating to shoot yourself in the head. You don't want to tell just everybody.
Nope.
Finally get beside the doctor, looked at me, oh, we cannot handle him here. Take him down to Atlanta West and have him alert a neurosurgeon. So they package you back up, away I go. I get to the next hospital and take me aside. They're very sanitary there. They gave me a little cup to spit in.
Oh.
There's a servant, they take you down to the x-ray room. I said, that makes sense. So roll me in and said, Hart, hold your head this way, this way, this way, this way. Now, sir, if you step over here, we'd like to get a chest x-ray. I said, look, I'll do anything you folks ask. I said, but my chest is fine. It's my head. What's in a bind? They said, sir, is that standard procedure? We get a chest x-ray of everyone who comes in. Fine. Stepped up, chest x-ray, hauled back up on the table and rolled me back in the emergency room. Dr. Kimmy looked at me and said, have you had a tetanus shot recently? I said, no. He gives me a tetanus shot. He leaves. Then he bring the x-rays back in and hang them on the wall. Everybody's just walking by. Nobody's looking at him. I'm stopping there. Excuse me, can read these things? Well, they just ignored me. Finally, the doctor reappeared, looked at the x-rays, turned to the nurse, said, cancel the neurosurgeon and get an eye, ear, nose specialist and take him to the room. Well, I like that about canceling the neurosurgeon, but I was still very apprehensive as to what this eye, ear, nose specialist was going to do to me in this room. So they rolled me out, put me in this elevator, take me to the floor, take me to this room, put me in this bed. It looked like a regular patient room to me. In came this woman dressed in white, had this little pad. I thought she was a nurse. When was the last time you were in the hospital and where? I said, when I was 13, in the Pender Memorial. Spell that, please. P-E-N-D-E-R. Go ahead. I refused to spell memorial. I felt like she worked in the hospital. She ought to be able to spell it. What type of pain are you experiencing? I thought about it, really still hadn't heard. I said, soreness. What? Soreness. S-O-R-E-N-E-S-S. She looked at me, looked at the pad, looked at me back at the pad. I thought your name was Futch. Oh, my God. Do you sleep with one pillow? Do you sleep with two? I sleep with two. You take a tub bath? You take a shower. I take a shower. You have any problem sleeping at night? I didn't last night. I don't know about tonight. You have any problem hearing? I didn't before that gun went off. I said my ears are ringing like everything now. Well, at that point, I refused to answer any more questions. Well, a doctor finally arrived the next afternoon. He came in and said, Futch, you're a fortunate individual. Here's just a bullet. Has passed through your sinus cavities, through your nose, underneath your eyes, bypassing your optical nerve, your facial nerve, your brain, and out through the side of your head. Sort of through a hollow space. Which my wife has never let me live down. I said, Doc, what on the ruin? Don't need some kind of plastic surgery? Oh, no, we found that a bullet wound is a very sterile injury. All we normally do is to take a rod and go through and clean out little bricks. I said, not through my head, you know. He said, no, we won't do it through your head. I said, no, we got to go back to work. Oh, you can go back to work tomorrow. I said, no way. I'm just as weak as I can be. He said, just trauma, nothing wrong with you. So nurse, take that gauze off and put 2 Band-Aids on. So with no more medication and 1 tetanus shot and 2 Band-Aids, I was on my way. Well, Atlanta's Journal-Constitution found out about it. They sent a report out, did a story on it. Then Associated Press picks it up and they take it nationwide. And then everybody's favorite magazine found out about it. Star Magazine. I'm sure you're familiar with them. See them in the grocery stores. Here's such wonderful articles as Woman Has Alien Baby. They call me Mr. Futch. We'd like to do a story on you. I said, all right. Said, you got a copy of the x-ray? I said, a copy of the x-ray? What would you want with a copy of the x-ray? Go put it in the paper? I said, it'd be sort of difficult to read, wouldn't it? He said, go put it in the paper. I said, fine. He came out to the house. Do you have the x-ray? Here's the x-ray. He said, where did the bullet go through? I knew he couldn't read it. I said, it went in here, came out here. He turned to my wife and said, do you have any cardboard or construction paper? She gives him a sheet and takes some scissors, trim off a narrow strip, takes the x-ray, turns it over, and tapes this strip to the back of the x-ray. Well, there's the darndest looking hole through my head you've ever seen. So the next month in Star Magazine, where Farrah Fawcett and Charlie's Angels on one page, there I was on the next, big caption said, man shoots himself through the head and lives. But I thought the whole article was put in the proper perspective. But another story down at the bottom of the same page of mine, which read, hen lays eggs that are blue. They had me and all other freaks on the same page. My friends at the time said, Ken, what you need to do is to go on That's Incredible. I said, no way. They'd want me to do it again. I can assure you one thing. All of the humor was in retrospect. There was nothing at all amusing at the time. But it did make me stop and reassess some things in my life.
Yeah.
I'd previously thought upon my surviving the jungles of Southeast Asia and returning to the land we call the world that I would live an average number of years. When I found out, there's no such thing as an average number of years. None of us have any idea as to how much time we have left. And the greatest impact it had on me is how I spend my time in my relationship with others. When my son was about 7 years old, he came downstairs on Halloween night. He said, "Dad, you come upstairs to help me carve a pumpkin." I said, "Son, I love to, but I don't have the time. I got to finish this report." As he walked away, I said to myself, if this were the last chance I ever had to carve a pumpkin with my son, would I do it? I said, "Hold on a second there, Kenny. I think I can help you carve that pumpkin." I viewed I was given one more chance to do something else with my life. But if you really think about it, each day that we get up, we're all given one more chance. Another learning point I got was be a little bit more tolerant of other people make mistakes. I used to laugh at an old girlfriend of mine who cut the end of her nose off, shaving her arm. Well, they tell me you're supposed to shave down. Well, you learn these things. Just because you do something stupid doesn't make you stupid. As I look back on that Saturday afternoon, without a doubt, it was the darkest day of my life.
Sure.
As I stood looking in, I knew it was dead. It was like, how do you fall? But as I stood there, I was completely engulfed with two emotions. First was fear. I think it's the fear of dying, fear of the unknown. If it had another equally strong emotion, and that was one of complete humiliation. What a stupid way to die. But what started as a tragedy ended as a destiny. Because in the profession you or I are in, one of the things needed is to differentiate yourself from your competition. Now, I'm not saying you've got to shoot yourself in the head.
And I'm not going to do that, Kenny. Let's just get that clear.
But it works for me.
Hey, did it work for you? Oh my gosh, you're listening to Ken Futch. Ken Futch and Ken Futch Associates. Ken at Ken Futch, that's KenFutch.com. You can reach Ken at 770-939-6200 or reach Ken at his website at believe it or not, KenFutch.com. Ken, we've known each other for a long time now here. And your story, I've known your story. As we were going through this, folks in the studio and everything else, we were laughing. Please excuse us. Right? We were laughing about it. But because of the fact itself, this is our life, and the stories themselves in our life changes the experience and the people who will come. The power of your personal story and the impact that not only it's made on your life, but other people themselves that you speak to. Let's talk about that.
Well, first off, I would say it took me a few years to realize it. But as I began to reflect back, I realized that it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Why?
That sounds bizarre. Because of the power of a story.
Right.
People do not forget powerful stories.
Right.
And so I began to see just how impactful they can be and use it in many different ways to make different learning points.
Right.
It changes sometimes when people hear a story. It allows a person to have a different perception of something maybe they've been in all the past. For instance, when I first started telling stories, you might imagine a lot of people, this is not right, this is not real. But the people who immediately knew my story was true were doctors and nurses and people who worked in hospitals, because they thought, yeah, that's what we would have done. They never had thought about the impact it has on the patient. Right. They knew I was okay, but I kept thinking I was going to be dying any moment.
Sure.
And I was not worried about tetanus shots and chest x-rays.
Sure. But how about the audience? Let's talk about the audience. So the audience hears your story. Whether the first time, second time, third time. Let's just say for the first time.
Okay.
And here's, what's the reaction that you're hearing from your story? What's the message? All right, hopefully those individuals are not going to go home and shoot themselves, without a doubt.
Very few have done that yet.
That's a good thing to follow up with. But what is the message? What are the things themselves that you want to leave with your audience?
Well, again, it would be the purpose of the speech itself could change how I set the story up and conclude it. But several points. One is that it makes people take another look at their priorities. Are they doing what they really want to do? Are they emphasizing what's important to them? And then how are they treating the people who are the closest to them? the people they care about most,
Yeah, right.
is their life following in that pursuit.
Sure. We often say in our world, communication world, we talk about story, content, humor, entertainment. The story has a definite impact. Story brings what we do as communicators to life, all right? And certainly now, the impact that you've made through the inspiration. You talk through inspiration, you talk through motivation.
Right.
I often say inspiration is an experience. You've definitely experienced, all right, this whole concept of shooting yourself in the head, but you're taking this from a lifelong perspective.
Right.
And the lifelong perspective out to the story, the impact of your life. What are the other impacts themselves that have really changed from not only from what I'm seeing out here, all right, because the rest of your body is fine.
Yeah. It may not look fine, but it is.
But I see, we're looking out here, all right, you had a problem with a crazed sow. A mule had stepped on your head too as well.
As a child.
So everything, I guess, from shoulders and above has been affected. What, I mean, from the impact on it, what has it done for you on your personal story? What have you learned out of here?
Well, I remember, since my background was in sales, there's an old saying that if you can't fix something, feature it. Go with what you've got, with your own story. Even if it's some failures, some negativity about it, it's not what happens to us in life, it's how we handle it. And I guess I really learned how you can take just about any situation and find a positive perspective, find a way to add value to either your life or someone else's.
Right, exactly. For you, we talk as communicators and consultants out here, all right, because we're reaching a business audience.
Right.
And everybody has a way of communicating with individuals through influence, impact, making a memorable message out there, okay? Your personal life story, I'm not telling everybody to go out and do.
No.
Definitely not, all righty? But how has this really changed the direction of your communication, your business?
Well, over the years, it has evolved to understanding more about the story. Been telling them a story.
Right, right.
And one of the things I've seen so much more of today is this recognition of how stories have been used, understood to the story.
Right.
For a truth to have lasting impact, it must be remembered, and it needs to be shared. Stories are what people share.
Sure.
And so I see more and more thought leaders seeing this value and look for ways to work it into their message.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that from a delivery technique, the type of engagement. Already, a lot of us, when we speak through motivation or inspiration, already, and we're conveying a message and conveying a story,
Right.
somewhere, along the lines, we've experienced some sort of failure.
Right.
Alrighty, and I believe that's where we learn. We've talked about it many times. All right, through the failures that we've really clinched on. All right, to some motivating point. All right, so others can learn.
Right.
How does failures work?
Well, when I'm working with someone on developing their own stories, I really encourage people to take a deep look at their life and reflect on some of the failures they've had. One of the pitfalls of an executive or a speaker getting in front of an audience many times is they will lead with their success stories.
Right.
Sometimes it's done in their minds to give themselves more credibility with the audience. But what happens if a person does that, it can build a barrier between the person and the audience. You got people sitting there thinking, well, so what?
Maybe not your story.
And so they can identify with someone who's been great. I'll give you an example. One of my favorite all-time stories, being from North Carolina, was the fact that Michael Jordan, the story of him that we all love best, was the fact that he was kicked off his basketball team his sophomore year for not having enough talent. More people can identify with being told that they aren't good enough than ever can identify with being named athlete of the century. Everyone usually identifies more with our failures than with our successes. So it is so important, no matter what our message, is to convey that you're authentic.
Yeah, right.
You know, show some vulnerabilities. Don't act like that you're perfect in life. People push back on that.
Right.
And by telling failure stories, it's the fastest way I know to drop some of those barriers. You see, when I start a program, when I tell my story, I no longer can intimidate anyone in the room. That idiot shot himself. So immediately, everyone's at ease with me.
Exactly.
Extremely.
Or hopefully to try to find something in their world, in their life,
Right.
all right, that could perhaps match
Right.
what you've done. All right, in some ways or another. We also talk about not only failures, we also talk about vulnerability.
Right.
You know, and there are a tremendous amount of communicators and presenters that are out here today that are really not unleashing their level of vulnerability. They're not releasing that level, that barrier. There's a strong barrier between them and their audience.
Right.
All right. What can we say to those individuals, especially new individuals in communicating? We have some of our senior folks, individuals themselves. You and I, we've been out
Right.
doing it forever. All right, so we know where and how to break down an audience.
Right.
All right, so we're going to be capturing the hearts, ears, and minds, and grabbing the attention. All right, but what can we say to yourself about vulnerability? From that standpoint?
Well, I think more than anything else is that we all have a certain degree of failures in our life. And if you've never mentioned that you have ever had any problems or failures in your life, people begin to think, what else would he lie about? Because everyone knows that your life has not been perfect.
Very good point, Walter.
So the faster you get to it, the more we just want people not saying, so what, we want the audience to be saying, me too.
Right.
I've had that. And when you can show how problems that you've had can be overcome. I've heard in so many situations, I've had people come up and talk about the fact, well, after you said it made me think, at first I thought maybe I was not right in this job because I look around, everybody else is so much better. But to see you talk about some of your failures in doing this, it gives me hope that I can overcome some of the same problems.
Right, exactly.
I just think when a speaker fails to do this, he or she is missing a great opportunity.
Right. And it's funny because I had to learn that the very hard way. One of the mentors themselves told me from years and years ago, a very dear and close friend of ours, and he had said, Rich, I know you, but I don't know who you are. You know, and that really was a turning point. Many years ago, it was a turning point out there to saying, I understand now this level of vulnerability. Now, it took me a while,
Right.
All right, to get out of that box. All right, but that is one of the probably most important points for today's communicators, all right, to really get down there on that level, all right, to being honest, genuine, authentic, and real. You know, even though all those words, they sound the same, they all have different meanings if you really look into them.
Right.
But you're really looking into it. Now, from the story we told, the story is really, your story is very compelling, okay? But I found myself laughing, okay? Please excuse that. No, but that's
I got mine.
But how important, all right, is humor inside that story?
Well, there's an old saying in the speaking business, you have to be funny in order to be a professional speaker. And we like to say, no, only if you want to get paid.
Exactly.
But that's
funny.
but I don't really think that's true. But one does need to be entertaining.
Right.
And for most people, that's probably the easiest way it is to entertain. So I do think as a person is putting their story together to look for entertainment value, and some of the places, what are the stories that when you go to Thanksgiving or when you have family get-togethers, when they say, tell them about the time you did this.
Right.
I mean, that's how my story took. Ken, tell them when you shot yourself. and that's how stories evolve. And even though I have added nothing to it, in fact, I took out a lot. It used to be like a 25-minute story. Right. But I have no qualms against people adding things to their story. This is saying that when you're telling a story, it's something that happened exactly that way or mostly that way, or it could have happened that way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be accurate, every little thing, in order to convey a truth. The truth is what we're seeking to convey, not the actual everything in the story.
Sure.
So if people want to add a little other things to give it more entertainment value, that's perfectly acceptable.
Here's the thing, we talked about story, content, humor, and entertainment. 4 quadrants, all right, that a communicator speaker should have in their belt.
Right.
Okay, without a doubt. We've talked about story, we've talked about humor, the content. All right, how driven should be the content? In your world, motivational, inspirational, all right,
Right.
on that speaking side, and really creating a message out there, all right. How do individuals themselves, as we're reaching out to these types of folks, all right, where's the big difference? How do we change the dynamics of this to the point as we're motivating, inspiring? How do we bring that content in the last element of entertainment?
Well, the key point, I believe, in a story, in a speech, in a message, is it needs to be relevant to the audience, for their world. So if you've got a story, and it's a great story, but it doesn't yet make a point that you think is relevant to a particular audience, then hold off and work on it and get input from other people. How can I make this story more relevant?
Right.
Because that is the key. People do not like it if you tell any kind of story and they wonder, why did he tell that?
Right.
You need to be able to answer that question. And I know we're running out of time, but let me also say this. If the taste of a pudding is in the taste, if the test rather of a pudding is in the taste, then the test of a story is in the telling.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people could use some help and some ideas in order to master it, or to make their message memorable.
Sure. They're dying to get to the punchline before they're actually bringing out the content.
And stories don't have to have punchlines.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. In your world, Ken, let's talk about your people,
Okay.
your market. All right, generations are changing.
Right.
You just talked about reaching those individuals with that flavorful taste of pudding.
Right.
Okay. Where generations are changing. All right, we have the silent senior generations. You have baby boomers. You have now the new group of millennials have now taken over. All right, their way of reaching and developing content and resources and hearing news and information is totally different. Who is your audience?
Well, my audience today is the younger people who are seeking to be better communicators.
Good.
Things in the past of our generation, everybody was all about facts. You know, just bottom line, what does it mean? People today are realizing things are more complex. And to convey a more difficult message, a more complex message, stories can often do that better than anything else.
Right.
And so they are becoming aware of how powerful putting their message in a story is.
Yeah, right.
It makes any message more powerful, more impactful, and more memorable.
Just love it, love it. Hey, today we're with Ken Futch, Ken Futch and Associates. Ken at Ken Futch, that's KenFutch.com. You can reach Ken and the associates themselves at 770-939-6200, or reach out to Ken by web out there as KenFutch.com. Ken, we're just about out of time, all right? Let's talk just a brief moment about your book. All right, take your best shot. We know where this book came from. What was the additional pieces that really inspired you besides shooting yourself in the head, okay, and living to tell the story? All right, and this is basically what it is. Tell me the premise of Take Your Best Shot.
Is how to turn situations into opportunities. I think the one common denominator most people have given me back after they've read my book is said, it's impossible to read your book and not look at your own life and some of the opportunities you either took advantage of or you failed to.
Right.
And this is how to recognize some of those opportunities. And obviously, there might be a few stories in the book.
Obvious. And of course, we got this on CD.
Your audio, that would me reading it. People say, why would you need both? Well, for this way, you get the impact, the inflections, the energy on what's important. And then I got one more DVD here called The Secrets of Influence.
Love it.
This is giving examples of some of the techniques that one can utilize in order to have your message better resonate with your audiences.
Love it, love it. Ken, as we finish up, one last comment, one last piece that you'd like to leave our listeners today.
I would like for people to become aware that I help people not just in my keynotes in speaking at those audiences, but also help coach executives and other professional speakers in how to develop their message to make it better in the form of a story, how to hone that to get across the message they seek to convey with their audiences.
Super, super. Hey, folks, we're with Ken Futch today. Ken, thank you very much
Oh, my
for coming on the
pleasure.
show. We've had a great time here. And hey, we look forward to seeing you. Just give one more time out there. Ken Futch, Ken Futch and Associates, Ken at kenfutch.com. Can be reached at 770-939-6200 and also at kenfutch.com. Ken, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you, my
and
friend.
thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Certainly.
Have a good